So we knew that the end of physical media was near. We just didn't realize how close it was. And a big part of me felt like from the moment I heard that GTA 6 was only going to be released as a digital download, a big part of me knew that this would be Sony's way of testing the digital only market. And I think for Sony, they were trying to figure out whether or not the physical versus the digital delivery of a game made a difference to gamers. And what GTA 6 is showing us is that it really doesn't. With the unprecedented amount of pre-orders that are in place right now for GTA 6, Sony has kind of proven its own thesis that they don't necessarily need to make physical video games in order for the casual gamer to go out and purchase the game, because casual gamers just don't really care about physical media as much as they do about actually being able to play the game. Whether it's a digital download or a disc doesn't really make a difference to most casual gamers. Now, who I think this announcement impacts the most is obviously going to be collectors and probably more so retro gamers. I think that this newer generation, like if you're someone who's maybe 15 and younger, probably doesn't matter as much to that demographic. I would say even maybe if you're 18 or younger, it probably doesn't matter as much to that demographic, because I think that generation has already been conditioned to consume media in this like download slash rented subscription based format. I grew up in an era where you bought your CDs, and then buying CDs, you went from that to paying for downloads that you were actually able to keep and store on your device. And now when it comes to music, it's pretty much subscription based. The same thing goes with movies. Now we have some type of subscription service that gives us access to a lot of movies, but a lot of times it's not our favorite movies. And this is the path of, video games, because it's another form of media that can be distributed and delivered in this subscription based format. Now, one of the things that I've experienced when it comes to, especially when it comes to movies, and I've mentioned this on my channel before, is I remember there was a time where I really wanted to watch The Matrix. It was a few years back. I really wanted to watch it again, and it wasn't because I hadn't never seen it before. I just wanted to relive the original Matrix experience. And so I had all of the apps. I had Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus. I had a cable provider which also offered on-demand service. And I remembered going through every single subscription-based service that I had and trying to see if one of them had The Matrix available for me to watch for free. And now one of those subscription-based services had The Matrix ready and available for me to watch for free. I think only two of them had the movie available, and in both scenarios, you either had to rent the movie for like $11.99 or you had to buy it for $17.99. And I just remember thinking, damn, this is a movie that came out in 2000 or 1999. Why do I have to pay $17 to buy it or rent it from a subscription service that I'm already paying a monthly fee for? And I think this is the fear that a lot of gamers who like to go back and play old games, this is the fear that they have, that they're now going to be charged out the wazoo for old games that they want to just go back and revisit, or those games aren't even going to be available to them at all. And so I think this announcement from Sony, it's going to impact two different types of people in two ways. So you have the gamer. If you have the gamer who's probably a part of this younger generation, I think it's not really going to impact them that much. I don't really think that the younger generation really cares that much. I think they're just excited to get GTA 6. They didn't really grow up with physical as much, and so there isn't really an emotional connection to physical items the way it is with older gamers. Now, when it comes to older gamers, I think it's a little bit different. With older gamers, I think what they're going to experience is almost a sense of panic, to where they're probably going to feel like they need to capture all of their favorite games, um, and have them in some physical format so that they have the ability to play them in the future, in the event Sony decides to shut down a store or they try to charge, crazy prices for these games. You do have the older gamers who are going to really feel that need to acquire certain titles. And then you have the collectors. I think for the collectors, this probably hits collectors the most. And I think if you are a collector who already has a huge and expansive library, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself, because you're probably thinking, I'm good. I have all the games that I already want. This news doesn't really matter that much to me. And you're probably just going to go out and add the few titles here and there that you feel you need to round out your collection. But if you're a collector who is still building your collection, you're probably going to feel the urgency to start grabbing certain games now, because what this announcement will do, it is going to impact the prices of physical video games, especially for PlayStation games. And I think that it's going to impact the price for all PlayStation games. Everything from the PSP to the Vita to the PlayStation 1 through 5. I think any PlayStation console that has a physical piece of physical media associated with it is going to be impacted by this announcement. And I think if there are PlayStation games that you really want to have in your collection, I think a lot of collectors are probably going to spend the rest of 2026 grabbing those games to try and dodge inflated prices in 2027. Now, this, there's a chance that this doesn't happen, but there's a pattern with the collector community. Anytime we get an announcement or we hear that something's being shut down, something's being discontinued, it almost immediately has an impact on the price of certain games. And I think this is going to be a big part of the reason why you will see the price inflate for certain games. Now, I recently picked up some games on the PlayStation 2 and PSP, because these were games that I had in my original collection and I wanted to get them back. And I actually picked these games up before the announcement, but I'm even more happy now that I got these games prior to the announcement than post-announcement, because I'm going to go back and start seeing what's happening with the prices for not only these games, but certain PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 games to see what's going on. Now, when it comes to the PlayStation 5, because a lot of those games are still in circulation and you could pick a lot of them up from Amazon and GameStop, those might not be impacted as much, but I can guarantee you PlayStation 1 through 3, oh yeah, there's going to be a change there. PlayStation 4 is kind of like a tricky one. I think for some of those more off the beaten path PlayStation 4 games, you probably will see pricing changes there. But I think 1 through 3 is going to get hit, and especially PlayStation 2. I think PlayStation 2 is in for some stuff. I'll show you what I've picked up recently. So I got back my copy of Kenka Bancho. This is a really dope RPG beat 'em up game on the Sony PlayStation Portable. This is one that I had to have back in my collection. I found a good price on it, so I added this one back to my collection. Hulk, the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Now, some of these are PlayStation exclusive. Kenka Bancho is a PlayStation exclusive. Hulk is not a PlayStation exclusive. You can get this on the GameCube or on the Xbox. The GameCube version is overpriced in my opinion, and the Xbox version, I don't know, something with the frame rate or something with just the rendering in the Xbox version. It's cool, but the PlayStation 2 version has always been my preferred way to play that game. I've had all three versions. I've had the Xbox version and the GameCube version. I personally prefer the PlayStation 2 version, so I went back and got the PlayStation 2 version, added it to my collection. Then we have Haunting Grounds. So this was a birthday pickup actually, and I got this at a really good deal. Probably about 70 to 75% of where it price charts at. So got a pretty good deal on this copy of Haunting Ground. It is an extremely clean copy, if I do say so myself. The disc and the manual are in like new condition, and this case is immaculate. So considering the price and the condition, this is a really good deal for me. I was glad to snag something like this. And then last but not least, this guy. I've been trying to get this back in my collection for years. Well, not for years, for months, ever since I sold off my collection. But Samurai Western is an absolute gem. If you're a fan of games like Blood Will Tell, Way of the Samurai 2, games like that, you will absolutely love Samurai Western. And it's just a classic. You got to play it. I'm a huge fan of these like hack and slash PlayStation 2 generation games, and Samurai Western was definitely one I had to add back. So glad to add these back into the collection. Had all of these in my collection before, except for Haunting Ground. I didn't have Haunting Ground, but these three I definitely did have in my collection, and I'm glad to have these back. There's only one other PlayStation 2 must-have that I'm trying to add back to the collection, and for me that is Blood Will Tell. I will get my hands on that game eventually, but this is definitely a few that I'm glad to have back in the collection, especially after hearing what Sony announced this morning. Let me know down in the comments what games you're going to try to get your hands on before they go crazy pricing wise, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is Y2K Collector. Take it easy.